Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of 500 Questions. Our guest today is Karla Goran. Karla was born and raised in Mexico, but in her early 20s, she moved to New York City. She started her career by working in top fashion houses and magazines such as Cosmo and Harper's Bazaar. But after a while, she noticed that her true calling was actually to create, inspire, and design spaces. This is why she enrolled in Parsons School of Design. This new path started nothing but renovating a 130-year-old brownstone. Since then, in 2014, she founded her own company, KMG Interiors, to which she is CEO. Karla is an inspiring woman with an amazing career, and I am so happy to have her here today with us. Welcome, Karla.
Hi, Denise. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to talk to you about, my journey to this crazy and amazing career that I love so much.
Thank you. So let's start. And the first question is for you to tell us, how did KMG Interior start?
That is a very sentimental question to me. Let me tell you why. Because since I was a little girl, my grandfather was an architect. So I grew up in Mexico, and I used to go to his house. And I used to sit in his lab when he had those big tables. Remember those tables where they used to draw blueprints by hand? And he used to make me part of his designs. And for me, it was just so a special moment for me to share with him. And I was his favorite. I won't tell my brothers, but I was his favorite. And he will always give me, I remember every time he see me, he will always give me money for candy. So that was the hook. But the reality is that I admired him so much. I love his career. So I always wanted to be an architect, always. My whole life, I said, I'm going to be an architect. But when I started, into high school, going into college, living in Latin America, the trend was, you have to work in marketing. You have to have a business. You have to be an entrepreneur. So I felt like it was so important for me to get those skills first, like how to be an entrepreneur, how to start your own company. So I studied marketing and international commerce because I wanted to know how businesses work. And then when I graduated, I moved to New York to pursue my husband too, but a job that was offered to me here in finance, which I never thought in my life that I was gonna work in finance. After three months within my new job, I was like, I don't love this. I don't love this. And with the beauty of New York and the architecture, I'm like, there's more here. So I enrolled in Parsons School of Design. And I said, I'm going to one day be an amazing designer or an architect, but I'm going to start pursuing it right now. So in my early 20s, I went to Parsons School of Design, and I just fell more and more in love with the whole process of being a designer. But as I was, studying, I needed to pay for my bills. New York is super expensive, and you live in these tiny places and you have to make, means. And so I was working different jobs. I started in Cosmo magazine as an assistant. And I started to fall in love with the fashion and the glamour of, the magazines and the celebrities and the models. So I went from Cosmo to Harper's Bazaar, then I moved into People, which is more celebrity oriented, and then in Style. And in my 40s, I was like, what am I gonna do for my next 20 years? I need to do what I love. And as you said, we had renovated our brownstone that we bought, and it's 130 years old, 4 floors. And when we did the renovation in 2014, I incorporated myself as a company to make sure that I could buy all the materials and, be more involved with the trade industry with design, and really, kind of use my full potential to design. So I partnered with this amazing architect. Her name is Jennifer Marsh. She's incredible. And we collaborated together and we designed our house. And you can see it on my site in kmginteriorsny.com. You can see all the photos of our 130-year-old brownstone. And it's just, I love the project. It was just such an amazing experience for me. Some people say that it's super daunting to do a renovation. And once they do it, they say, I'll never do it again. This was crazy. To me, doing a renovation, I couldn't wait to do more of them. I was like, I want to do 100 million of these renovations. And especially, I love old architecture with new modern design, more contemporary. So we did like a combination of both. And that's when my company started. Like it just started out of that. And then, 4 years later, I have like 7 projects right now that are active. I'm doing a penthouse in Brooklyn. I can't believe it. Like it's just like taken off. So yeah. I'm super grateful.
Amazing. So the second question is, art and design always go together. So what are some of your all-time favorite artists and designers, like your top notch?
So art is so special for design. As you see here, I have different things. And, a lot of the art that I have in my home, either is of artists that I admire or things that I've done with my mom is a painter. She paints, it's a hobby for her, but she's a great artist. So she painted this with me and we painted those together as well. So I love art. I feel like it's the jewelry to the house. And it's very personal, because it has to be a reflection of you. Having said that, I admire international artists, but somehow when I moved to New York, it was a very sentimental for me to admire, Mexican artists and Latin American artists, from Diego Rivera to Julio Galan, always admiring, because it was like almost like a memory of back of my house, of my hometown, where I couldn't live there anymore because I was here, which I love New York, by the way. But lately, I think I really admire the new young Latin American artists. There's some amazing artists in Mexico. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Roberta Lobeira. She did La Casa de las Flores.
Yes.
The whole art, her art is just spectacular. I mean, she's booked for years and years, and you have to be on a waiting list to get one of her pieces. Yeah. She's amazing. I think that her craftsmanship is incredible. Monica Fernandez, I don't know if you know her. She paints this face of this beautiful girl with a lot of flowers and movement and colors. So I think that I love the color that she brings to her pieces. And so many other young Latin American artists or Mexican artists that I admire, that when I do my design, I really want to push for them because I think they're equally good as Diego Rivera, if not even better.
Yes,
than them. Yeah.
Amazing. Great. The third question is, what do you consider to be a must in your designs? Something that is like your signature.
Well, my signature is always the combination, as I said, of the old classic architecture that I've been inspired so much by New York and Paris. I studied in Paris also when I was younger, so I felt like the architecture there is incredible. So I love that. But I also admire and love the new contemporary aesthetics. So one thing that I love to do in my designs, and you'll see it through my work, is that I like to combine them both. I like a touch of classic, but with a contemporary twist to it. Another thing that I think is crucial in design, where you're thinking of like, what I want this space to look like, is cohesiveness. You have to make sure that everything is cohesive. Even from space to space in a house, you want to make sure that everything kind of like makes sense. Not that it's piecemeal, like one room is this, one room is that. I like the whole house to evoke, a special design that it reflects who you are and your personality.
Definitely. So you partially answered the fourth question, but but it is that how do you combine beauty and aesthetics with function?
That is such a great question, because I get that from my clients all the time. I'm all about beauty and the way it looks and how gorgeous it's going to be in a photograph. But at the end of the day, you got to think that these people live in that house. It cannot be a museum that nobody can touch. So the way I approach this is always, I think of the functionality first, like how do you want to utilize this space and how is it going to be good for you on your way of living and for your family. And after that, I bring all my creativity to achieve the beauty that I want. But I always have in mind, how is this space going to be amazing for you and how you're going to utilize it to its best potential. So that's my approach all the time. And then around it, I build the beauty of it with pieces like art and lighting. I think is also super important. You know, lighting can make a whole room look very different.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the last question, the fifth question, is that in your opinion, how has the pandemic impacted interior design? And if you think that we'll be seeing new trends or new things, or how has,
Well, it's funny that you say that, because it was scary in the beginning of the pandemic that all my projects were put on a stop. And I was, oh my God, what's going to happen? It was so daunting. Like, what's going to happen to my company, that is so dear to my heart, that it took so long for me to build it. And I worked so hard. But it was funny, slowly by slowly, I think one trend that I'm seeing is people are realizing that having a beautiful home, a beautiful kitchen that you can enjoy cooking in, is more important than before, especially in New York, where people have very tiny kitchens. They really don't cook. They go out all the time to restaurants, and that has really changed how people are moving to bigger spaces. A lot of people move to the suburbs with big homes. So they were calling me and saying, Karla, what do I do? Like, I moved to this huge home from a 1-bedroom apartment in New York City. I have no furniture. I don't know what to do with it. So I think that the trend is that people are going to start spending more time at home, enjoying their family, or maybe some, close friends or close family members, and really using their homes in a different way. So I think more than ever is so important, your kitchen. You're there cooking all day long, so you have to make it functional, but it has also to be a place that you love to be in. So I think that's the trend. People are going to start caring more about, having these beautiful space where they can receive their family and friends.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us here in 500 Questions. You can follow Karla on Instagram. I'll leave you her account.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful week.